Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have quite a few people with me, gentlemen with me, I should say, from North Georgia Landscape Management. Welcome, everyone.
Hello, hello. Hello.
This is the first time I've done a group podcast. So, yeah, a little new for me. Jeremy, you and I spoke quite a few times and, yeah, wanted to get you on the podcast and your team. So, thanks for bringing everybody along.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And we do things a little bit different. And, over here, I like to make sure that my team's always involved in every decision that we make, and we have meetings all the time. So this podcast is no different, right? They're more important than I am. So uh, when opportunity like this comes along, it's only fitting to bring them along. So not only are they more important, but they offer insight into what they do every day, as opposed to what I do, because we have vastly different jobs. So I have Stuart here. He's an account manager. I have Mason, another account manager. They also sell enhancements. And then I have Lucas, who is our head of operations. So yeah, so I started the company right out of college, 2 days after I graduated in 2010. I started with a little push mower and a little truck and started going door to door, knocking on doors, trying to drum up some business. And I went to school and got a history degree, and I was planning on being a teacher and a baseball coach. And yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
in my last semester, I was watching a lot of business shows like The Profit or Shark Tank, um, Bar Rehab, sort of business-minded shows, and I started getting the itch to be a business owner. So I kind of shifted my focus from being a teacher to being a entrepreneur. And honestly, I chose landscape because I thought it would be the easiest to learn, the fastest.
Okay.
It have a whole
And
lot
do
of real
do
life experience. So
do you still think that?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
as it was explained to me, it's very simple. Green side up, you know.
Green
So
side up.
cutting the grass and as far as running a business, now that's obviously a lot more difficult. But out there pushing a mower and stuff like that, I figured that would be the easiest to learn.
Awesome.
I started the company and hit the ground running and went door to door and bought myself some small equipment, a little truck, and just kind of tried to provide the best service that I could at a competitive price. And I found out real quick that I was not a very good landscaper. Again, not
Okay.
I'd never worked for a landscape company. I didn't have much experience other than cutting my grass very poorly in high school. So it became very apparent to me that I needed to hire some talent. So I started hiring people, and at that time,
How
I,
how far into your journey? A
uh,
year in
yeah,
or
about a year and a half.
pretty
Year
quick?
and a half. So I
Okay.
started my company in the middle of the summer of 2010. So that first 6 months, I mean, I was behind the eight ball, right? I'm going door to door. People already had their providers, and every now and again you'd come across somebody that didn't like who they were with, and I was able to land a contract. But that first 6 months was kind of a wash. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot going. So the following year, towards the end of the year, was when I was able to hire people, and I actually hired two
Okay.
people, and that was probably the biggest risk that I've ever taken up into that point of my life. And it paid dividends because it allowed me to get out. One, I was a terrible landscaper, and I hired two landscapers, so the quality went through the roof. And then it allowed me to spend my time growing the business and handling the business. So the
Mm,
benefits were twofold, and the growth was exponential.
mm,
So that that was kind of a defining moment, because that taught me a lot of what I was learning from the shows that I was watching about taking risks and
mm-hmm.
calculated risks and how risks pay off. So now, fortunately, when you take a risk like that, especially very early on, you give away a lot of the money. So um, I was in a position in my life where I wasn't married, I didn't have any kids, and I lived in a house where I had roommates. So my cost of living was very low. So I was very fortunate to be able to take that risk. Um, so a lot of people that are starting businesses landscape or otherwise, they don't have that luxury. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a fortunate blessing, I guess, if you will, that I the way my life was structured at the time, I could take that risk where I could live off of 100 or 200 bucks a week. A lot of people that start businesses don't have that. So that kind of, I had a leg forward on a lot of people, a lot of business owners in that respect. But that allowed me to grow a lot real fast and a lot exponentially. So then, we did the residential thing for a couple of years, and then it became time to start doing install work. And I was very fortunate to meet a
Okay.
guy. His name was Ed Sesniak, or is Ed Sesniak. He is in Charleston at the moment. He has retired and moved. And I
Okay.
purchased Georgian landscape design from him in 2020. So we met in about 2015, and he was older, retired, just kind of doing landscape design as a hobby to keep himself busy. And we hit it off. And he would do the designs and I would do all the work. And we had these structures of splitting profit, informal partnership, if you will. And it worked great. And I learned so much from him. And then it became time to scale that. He had a great reputation, but at the time I was in my mid 20s, maybe late 20s, and he was in his early 70s. So we weren't kind of eye to eye on the goals of the company. It was a hobby for him, trying to keep himself busy. And for me, it's my future, it's my career. And so I
And you're
wanted to,
seeing
yeah, and I wanted
the
to take,
value of, yeah.
exactly, I wanted to take his model and his company. His model was always based on customer service and client experience. It wasn't really about profit because again, he was retired. He worked at IBM, he worked at Deloitte. He had what he needed. He was just trying to not be on
Mhm.
the couch all the time. So my goal was to scale that, and the best way to do that, from what I had learned, was number one, I gotta have an office and I gotta have somebody that's answering the phones because when we were out there doing the work, or at least supervising the work, we were missing a lot of calls. We didn't have any marketing structure.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot. I taught myself a lot about marketing, Google Ads, and all these different avenues to drive leads. And I started putting them in place. And I was taking my portion of the profits and putting it into scaling the company and putting in systems and processes and personnel. And um, he was a little skittish about it because he didn't want to grow too big. He didn't want to work all that much. Again, he was just trying to stay busy. So um, I was able to take my portion and just do it anyway, and it just took off because again, what he had built was based on customer service and the 5-star reviews, 70, 80 of them. I mean, we had a great reputation, so it was real easy. I had a great foundation to build on. So it was easy for me to take my portion of the profits and confidently put them into the business to grow. It wasn't very risky.
Yep.
But
Yep.
then it came a whole new set of challenges of how do we keep up with all this work, right? So at every turn it was what do we have to do next? What risk do I have to take next? Do I need a bigger office? Do I need more trucks? Do I need more personnel? So um, that's kind of how everything started. And then I guess maybe 2019 we decided to start focusing on commercial maintenance. So uh,
Okay.
we got out of the residential maintenance side. We still do a lot of residential design build with the GLD side, but North
Hmm.
Georgia Landscape Management, which is our maintenance side, we're all commercial now. So we do a lot of HOAs and apartment complexes and townhouse communities. Spent a lot of time investing in that side and attending all the events and joining the groups and kind of beating the streets and meeting people. So that side has really taken off, and that's where these guys come in. They're the commercial account managers, and they have just a full plate every single day, and they do a really good job. So that's kind of the synopsis of our story so far. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, you've come a really long way, it
yeah,
seems. I mean, I guess that's 13 years, or well,
yeah,
not even 13 years, 12 years, but you've gone through quite a transformation of being,
yeah.
just you. Um, and so I took some notes, and you first mentioned the risk versus reward, like quite early on. You said a year and a half in. How did you, I mean, you mentioned watching TV shows and
Yeah.
stuff, but how did you get those business skills that you needed? Do you think you just had the desire to
Yeah,
figure
just
it out,
desire. I
or
mean, I am a competitor. I played college baseball. I played after college. I am a very competitive person, so that's why owning a business works well for me because I'm in it to
yeah,
win. You know, whoever my industry competitors are, that I'm going to observe them. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to learn what to do, what not to do. Try not to repeat their mistakes and follow what they do well. So, that's kind of in my DNA is to compete. Yeah. So with that, you got to take risks. And when I was watching these shows and reading literature and watching YouTube videos, Jonathan Potoshnik, Lawn Care Millionaire. I watched his
yeah,
videos over and over and over again very early on. And when you jump from YouTube channel to YouTube channel to podcast, everybody has the same sort of things in common. They have the same
mm,
advice. So I just kind of took bits from everybody and I put it into practice. So a lot of it was risk taking, but they were risks at the advice of successful people, right? So it's almost
yeah,
like a blueprint,
yeah.
right? So the information is out there if you just kind of listen to it and follow it. And that's something I preach to my team all the time. Um, about growing and we have motivational speeches in the mornings and how to really get out there and compete and drive. So um, that's how we do that.
And how long have the rest of you been with Jeremy?
Go ahead, Mason.
So I've been with Jeremy for going on my third year. I can
Okay.
say this is home for me. Jeremy treats his clients and you know coworkers, I guess you could say, employees. He's very good to us, and he always puts us first before himself.
Hmm.
So that's huge to me, and I'm obviously these guys. So Stuart.
So I've been with Jeremy since July. Um, it was
You
real.
want to speak up a little bit more?
Sorry about that. So I've
That's
been with
okay.
North Georgia Landscape with since July of 2023. Jeremy brought me in to be the guy that's had a lot of experience with account management, and he's really given me the reins to communicate and set goals as I see him work, I try to mirror his performance and the way he presents himself and our company to the people he talks to. I want to mirror that. So it's like a consistent image. We pride ourselves on customer service and communications. Uh, because in our industry, unfortunately, one of the most common trends is when I'm in front of somebody new, I ask them, so what are your pain points with your previous or your current service provider? And it's like, I'll call them and I won't hear from them for 3 weeks about something very
Mm,
insignificant, and I think our ability to manage the communication, like Jeremy does, it's the perfect model. We over communicate to a point, um, to establish that relationship. And Jeremy always stresses how important it is to communicate and how you communicate. So, whether it's
yeah,
a phone call, an email, a text message, whatever the form of communication is, we try to make sure we get it done in one shot. Answer all the questions up front, put all the pain points possible on the table in front of them. And usually when your customer is better informed, it allows you to do your job somewhat more autonomously. Um, you know, and this is that it's all been set in front of me because I'm new. So I'm literally learning from all these guys and how it works because this industry is somewhat new to me as well. But the customer management aspect is something that I did previously, but it's also I didn't really have to change anything. I'm just following what Jeremy does and putting it in the order that makes the most sense for our customers. And, you know, I really like being part of a team. We feel like,
Mhm.
you know, how brothers get in a room and
Family.
start ribbing people, you know, you may not want to hear it, but you're gonna hear it. And it's just one of those things that is brought up. So, you know, let's just not make that mistake again. And it's never like heavy handed. It's always like, let's do it this way from now on, so we don't make that mistake.
Mm.
It's, yeah, like Jeremy said, it's always very constructive. Because at the end of the day, everybody that works here that wears the light blue and the hats.
Represents Jeremy.
Yeah, represents Jeremy, but we also represent something that's bigger than ourselves. It's the brand that he's worked to establish over, you know, a decade. And that's nothing to stop at, you know, and you know, it's gives me great faith in my leadership this year. You know, we're all super competitive. You know, we'd love to have you come to Atlanta and play some golf with us.
Oh,
Hey, there's great courses. It's beautiful. It's a little warm in the summer, but we'll go play early in the morning, so it'd be great. But you know, we're truly in a room full of alphas where everybody wants to be the best. It's
oh, that's
not
awesome.
the complacency. I don't think it's accepted really, and it's not really even talked about that it's complacency. It's just the expectation of more. We can do more. You can do more. Let's do more, but let's do it the right way. Yeah, to be the best, not the biggest, not the richest, just the best. And I know that, you know, you kind of compliment sandwich there, but the best is what we can do
Mm.
and what we're tasked to do on a daily basis.
What do you
So-
see? I know this is maybe a little off topic, but what do you see when you look around at our industry? Because you know, you're saying that you want to strive to be the best. You know, I think our industry still has a ways to go to be the best industry out there. How are you guys differentiating, you know, North Georgia landscape
Yeah,
management?
so I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of B2B sort of interaction, sales, promotions. I go into potential and current client offices all the time. And
Mm.
I ask the same series of questions. What are your biggest concerns? What are your biggest problems? Because what I want to do is I want to be the problem solver. I want to figure out where that hole is in our industry. And I want to be the one that
Mm.
plugs it 100% of the time. So um, what I hear most often is lack of communication, lack of response, and um, failure to get ahead of problems. Now, you know, being retroactive as opposed to proactive. I hear it exactly. I hear it everywhere I go. So you'll hear my team constantly talk about communication and being proactive. And that is our motto because that is the biggest problem that I hear across the board 100% of the time from every single
Mm.
client. So when I go and I sell to a group of clients or promote ourselves, that's what I harp on. And I tell them all the time, our guys, our boots on the ground, our crew members, I'm not sure. I'm not going to promise you that they're going to be any better than that company's crew or that company's crew. But what I can tell you is my customer relations account managers are going to be very personal with you and they're going to communicate with you every single day, every single week, almost like Stuart said, almost to a fault. I don't believe there's such a thing in the service industry as over communication. So we are going to communicate until we are blue in the face. We want you to be in the know of everything that's going on your property. And I don't want a phone call or an email to come into my office of a client asking what's the status of X, Y, or Z. I want them to always, the only emails I want is more opportunity and thank yous. That's it. Thanks for letting me know, Mason. Thanks for letting me know, Stuart. I don't want any of this.
Yeah.
Hey, I asked for this bid 2 months ago. What's the status of it? And that is the hole that we're trying to plug in the industry. And that's the example that we're trying to set for everybody. And I know everybody, all the other industry leaders, I would assume, have the same goal. It's very difficult. It is very difficult. And the only way to do it is to have effective systems and effective processes that are followed by your people. There's a lot
Yep.
of programs out there, single ops, Java, service autopilot, whatever it may be, that will handle all this stuff for you. And then you just got to make sure that everybody's using it to its fullest potential. And that stuff will keep you organized. And that's how you set yourself apart. And I think once you master that, now you can set the example for everybody else. I have never been into a place where they say that this company is perfect and they communicate wholly, and I'd never have a problem with them. But that's our goal. Our goal is to be the best, and that's how I think we do it. It's the product that we put out there with the installations or the maintenance that we do. The product is just as good as everybody else's. But what I want to do is I want to be head and shoulder. I want to be the example, the pinnacle for customer service and client relations, because ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Well, I think you're right. I think that, really any of the trades, I think, struggle with that communication, because you come into a problem, you have to sort something else, you have to, you're jumping around a lot. We have weather to deal with, we always have traffic, other things, but keeping people in the loop, I think, can be a real challenge.
Absolutely. And so I just built a house 2 years ago, and dealing with the builder and the subcontractors under the builder. This is where it really hit home for me. Now, I knew the principles of communication and client satisfaction prior, but once I built the house, that's where I felt it. Okay. You get a call or an email from the builder saying, hey, the electrician's going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So you stay home from work and you keep the kids out, or you rearrange everything, and 8 o'clock comes and nobody shows up. 9 o'clock, nobody shows up. No phone call, no text, no nothing. Next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock. And now I'm calling the builder saying, hey, where is this person? Oh, they're not going to make it. They'll be there tomorrow. Well, two things. I just lost a whole day. And secondly, why am I going to take the day off tomorrow? Because now I don't trust you. And I've already given this huge amount of money.
Yeah.
So once you are put into that position as a client, that helps you to really understand what it's like on the other side. So I try to teach my people the same thing. Imagine that you're sitting there and you've written a check, or you're writing a monthly check for $10,000 every month to come service this property, and you were told that Mondays is your service day, and nobody shows up. That's why. But as you alluded to earlier, things happen. Trucks break down, people call in sick, weather, so on and so forth. All it takes is a little communication. If the builder would have called me at 8:30 and said, hey, I know I told you 8 o'clock, but they're not going to make it today, my answer would have been very simple. Thank you very much. Let me know what we're going to do next. But now that I'm having to reach out to them, it's a negative mark on them. I have a sour taste in my mouth. The relationship is soured. So that's what I try to preach to them, and they understand it. And that's why we have been able to grow so fast over the last couple of years in the commercial space, because that's what I'm trying to do, is set ourselves apart on that realm. So
yeah, great job. Sounds like you're doing it. And you have a team backing you up. Lucas, sorry, Lucas didn't get to answer a question, so you're next.
They were saying all the important stuff of the actual business. So my part in all of this, the communication between us as a team is very big, and a very important thing about communication is listen. So my job, a part as operations, is to listen to both of these account managers to see what they have to say, what's tasked, what we need to schedule, what needs to get done, how they want to do it. what time, what date, and my job is to make it happen exactly how they say it. So it's sometimes it can be like Stuart said earlier, it can happen where we can drop the ball. We don't want that to happen, but the way we communicate between each other and work to get it right is, I've just been seeing this for the past 2 years. I started here with Jeremy. I started as a crew worker, worked my way up as a foreman, and then from foreman worked my way as an operations manager. So I've had the privilege to work my way up through the actual labor process into the office, and it's been a huge privilege to work with these guys and to learn a lot from them, especially from Jeremy. Changed my life in a way where I can go ahead and start planning things a little bit better, communicating a little bit better, and it's opened my playbook to a whole different world. So I'm happy to be a part of this team and to continue on as best as I can. But that's pretty much what my job entails. Just try to get the things done right the way they want it to. And obviously, that's my ability.
Yeah, Lucas he's a rock star, man. Lucas's main responsibility is to make sure, so the clients communicate with our account managers, and then the account managers have to communicate with Lucas, and Lucas sends all that out to the crews. So we have 8-9 crews every day running. Our crews are mostly 6-man crews, so we have a lot of guys, and they're going all around town. So Lucas makes sure that the directives that are coming from the client through our account managers gets to the crews to get executed, whether it's, hey, make sure we get the bush on the corner of building 3 next time we're out there. Well, when somebody calls and says, hey, we need that done, it has to go through the proper channels, right? Systems and processes, and back to the communication thing. The communication is not only important between the account managers and the clients, it's also the account managers and operations, so that it can filter down to the proper crew and get done in a timely manner. Another big, huge complaint that we hear often is, I've asked for this to be done, and not only has it not been done, it's been 6 weeks. Nobody has even let me know anything. Our job here, or our goal, part of the communication process, is to make sure that nothing goes more than 1 visit without being handled. And again, that's how we are trying to separate ourselves and lead the industry, and be the example. Is let's just communicate and get things done. You got to understand, these people are paying us a lot of money. We have a contract that says we are going to do X, Y, and Z for X amount of money. If we're not doing something, then technically that's a breach of contract. I wouldn't go that far, but technically it is, right? So we don't want that. And most importantly, our reputation. When property managers and building owners are talking about North Georgia Landscape and we're not there, I want it to be all positive. I want them to say those guys are on it. We never have to go more than a week. We never have to follow up about anything. You send them a text, you send them an email, you can take it to the bank that it's going to get done. And if it doesn't get done, there's an account manager explaining to you why it wasn't done and when you can expect it being done, rather than the client having to reach out to us. So that's kind of our SOP, our MO, whatever you want to call it. And that's how we want to lead the industry and change it. That's a big hole that needs to be filled. So,
do you think it's been a hindrance or a help to have not been in the industry before you started your business, Jeremy?
I would say it's a hindrance. I can only now, we've done well, okay, and I'm not going to say I've done well, because I can't do a single thing without these guys, right? When you look at our reviews online, whether it's for Georgia Landscape Design or it's for North Georgia Landscape, they're not talking about Jeremy. Most of those clients don't know Jeremy. They're talking about the team, right?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine where we would be as a group if I had a little bit of industry knowledge before I started. But there is such a thing, there is such a thing, and I preach to my wife about it all the time, about healthy growth, right? You have to grow at a healthy rate. And one thing I know how to do well is grow, and scale, but you have to do it at a rate that is healthy. If you grow too fast, you're going to make yourself look stupid. right? I did that kind of very early on. I learned that lesson the hard way, obviously on a much smaller scale. But that was another point that when I watched YouTube videos or I was watching Bar Rescue, or this was a point that they would talk about often. But it didn't hit home until I experienced it. Now, thankfully, it was at the early stages that I could recover real quick. But we want to grow at a healthy rate. So I guess the answer is it is a hindrance because I could have grown a lot faster, but at the same time, it was a blessing because it controlled my growth to where I didn't, I guess, shoot yourself in the foot, right? And tarnish your name in the industry. So 50-50, you know?
50-50. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's refreshing to see you start in the industry with a business and not have the background. And then
Yeah.
maybe it's given you a different focus than you would have if
Yeah.
you'd worked for another landscape company. I really liked how you guys said and I can't remember which one of you said it, but I really liked the you're trying to get ahead of problems.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a real skill to be able to get ahead of problems.
Sure.
It's another thing to communicate. I mean, obviously, communication, I think, is key. And I think you're doing that really well. I just thought it was really interesting when you say to get ahead of problems.
Yeah.
That's a step change too.
Sure.
How do you do that?
So
Can you
the
think of any
easiest,
examples or?
yeah, the
Yeah.
easiest way for us to do it again goes back to the customer service side. What we try to do is we don't try, we do. It is our policy that, again, we do commercial maintenance. So we have apartment complexes, HOAs, and some retail spaces. On the apartment side and the HOAs, we have walks with either the HOA board president or the landscape chair. And on the apartment side, you have the property manager. So we have site visits monthly, maybe every 6 weeks, depending on the time of year. This time of year, kind of slow it down a little bit, every 6 weeks, 2 months. But in the growing season, monthly walks. What that does is that provides exceptional customer service, and it also gives our account managers the opportunity to see any problems and to go over any problems face to face with your client. Hey, these bushes are dead, or they're struggling. We may want to talk about building a budget for next year to replace this whole section. So not only does that allow us to get in front of it and provide that exceptional customer service, it also allows us to make more money, right?
I was
So
going to say upselling. Yeah.
exactly right. And let's
Okay.
face it, this is a business. This isn't a hobby. If I
Mm.
wanted it to be a hobby, I would have stuck with the way we were doing it with Ed. So, we have big dreams around here. Everybody wants to provide for their family and take vacations and have a decent standard of living. So again, it all goes back to customer service. And when you can provide great customer
Yeah.
service, you provide yourself with additional sales opportunities. And it's a win-win for everybody because the property managers or the HOA members, they want their property to look great for their residents. So they're open to all these suggestions. And you got to remember, we're the professional. So we get to make more money. We get to put our name on a property that looks fantastic, and the property manager looks like a rock star to their residents and their clients. So it
It's
is
a
just
win-win.
called a no-brainer. Is what
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
how I would say it. So that's our focus, and you'll hear me say it over and over again. I mean, my answer to most all of your questions is going to be the same. It's going to be
Yeah.
customer service and communication, and that's what we talk about all day. And
Fantastic.
as we get on in the conversation, we can talk about additional benefits to it. But that's really the meat and potatoes of a successful business, a successful service-based
Hmm.
business, right? Because
Hmm.
that's what we're doing. We're providing a service, and it's customer service.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. And do you find that your clientele are looking for smarter solutions, better solutions, or more sustainable practices or anything? What are you hearing from um, your clientele on
Yeah, so I'll let
future?
Mason and Stuart handle that. They're more they're out there every day. They're the ones doing the walks. They have the great relationships, the face-to-face relationships. So I'll let Mason go first. Mason, what are you hearing out there?
So I guess with my clients, they want me to, for example, obviously, we do our walks, every 6 to 8 weeks. When I walk with them, I try to find a problem and then come up with a solution. For example, like Jeremy was saying, any type of dead bushes, or any type of drainage issue. So that's when I would come in and I would tell them that there's a problem, and then I would make sure that I take the problem, obviously put an estimate together and send it over to them as soon as possible. That makes them, like Jeremy was saying, that's good customer service, and that's making them feel important. That's huge. I see it different kind of, almost every single walkthrough. But that's what I see. They want you to be responsible on emails. They want you to, get things back to them at a timely manner, so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I see it. Stuart?
I think, we, since I've been on board, I guess,
A little bit louder.
I think, our recent opportunities to grow have largely been with, property management groups, whether they own the property or they're managing the property. We have both, so it's a little bit of a who your master is at the end of the day. And a lot of these property managers, they want to look as good as possible. And when we do these walks, like Mason and Jeremy have both talked about, it gives you the opportunity to gain credibility with them, establish rapport, and my history, I've always liked to make a relationship as good as it can be before too long. Establish trust, always meet your deadlines. And then when you have these walks with these people after, I call it the dating phase, the first 2 months of our contract, we're dating. I need to know what you like, what you don't like, what your pain points are, in addition to the ones we already talked about. So, we really get to know each other on a professional level, like what your expectations are. When I know what your expectations are, I can play to that. I can, if you'd like me to call you on Fridays after the service has been done, I will call you on Fridays. What time works for you? It's a phone call, and most often it's 45 seconds of talking, and again, it just falls back to the communication thing, or the communications piece and how important it is. So to I guess answer your question in my words, when you walk with them and you're like, well, did you happen to see the erosion behind building number 3? And she's like, oh yeah, I did. What do you suggest? We're the expert. We're going to provide you with a solution. And I generally give myself at least 3 working days to get them an estimate. And we'll, contact our expansive list of vendors that we've spent over a decade working with and getting the best price for the best material and being able to put the best product in front of them. So again, you trusted me with $10,000 of your dollars. Well, here's your brand new hill. How's it look? But sometimes it can be distilled into something that's simple. There's a problem. Well, we got a water problem, so let's bury some downspouts and get the water out of the area. And they're like, wow, the grass looks great. And I'm like, yeah, we need water somewhere else. So it's establishing that relationship, and the trust and the rapport is of utmost significance. Especially when, like with these larger apartment groups, they're all intimately familiar with their other general managers or the regional managers, and they're with each other once a week. So, if something happens on Friday, they're probably talking about it on Monday. I just want it to be something good happened on Friday and not something bad.
Yeah.
I love being Monday morning conversation as long as it's good.
Let me kind of touch on answering your question. I will say this: when I speak to clients, I will say what I am noticing on the HOA side, they're looking for, they're definitely a lot more budget conscious than the side. The HOA side, they are trying to balance curb appeal and that wow factor with a limited budget. Over the last 3 years, I guess, with the way inflation has kind of up and down, and it has kind of plateaued, leveled out, and kind of coming down at this point. But it was real rocky there for a little while. HOAs had a real tough time raising money from their residents, right? Let's say an HOA fee at this example A is $250 a month in 2019. Well, now they might be at 280. So they went up $30 a month per resident or per owner. That's not a very big jump. That's not enough to keep up with inflation. So
Yep.
still have a lot of projects that need to be done to enhance their property, whether it's an HOA property, a entrance and a pool, or a full townhouse community where you have to cut every piece of grass in there. Their budgets are not keeping up or have not kept up with the rate of inflation. So on that side, we got to be careful on what we propose. The solutions that we propose to them, we have to be a lot more budget conscious. On the apartment side, the apartments are most often owned by a group of investors. It's a different ball game.
Okay.
They have bigger budgets. Their budgets were definitely keeping up with inflation a lot better. They raise rents almost weekly. They shop their comps, and they can adjust rents weekly, maybe bi-weekly or monthly. So they can adjust their cash flow for that property with a lot more versatility than the HOA side. So on the apartment side, we haven't run into that. The budgets aren't now. I'm not going to say that they're not there. They're obviously budget conscious and they're trying to get the most bang for the buck. But the ultimate goal for the apartment side is I need to wow my residents and I want to raise the value of the asset being the property. So your group of investors at the top, they want to make it look fantastic. They want the amenities to look great because that allows them to raise rents higher. And they are able to do that
to recoup that cost. Yeah.
They can control their rents and kind of I guess combat all that stuff. So that's what I'm seeing from my computer. I'm in the office most of the time. So they can give you the insight of what the boots on the ground, and I can kind of give you that sort of market insight.
So what's next for you guys then?
Okay, so that's a great question. We just hired our very first. So again, I have Georgian Landscape Design, which does all the residential design build. So we do a lot of patios, sod, irrigation, just full makeovers of backyards, front yards for residential homes. We are in Alpharetta, Georgia. Within a 30-mile radius, the household income per capita it's a nice part of town. So we have a lot of clients close by that they have that extra discretionary spending. So that's a big part of our business. That's 50% of our volume. And if you look at our reviews and stuff, we've done a really good job. I wouldn't say we've mastered it, but we're definitely a top player in that sort of industry. The next logical progression and evolution of that side was to introduce building pools. So last year I built 2 pools. I didn't personally, my team did. And we kind of learned the hard way of how to do it. I was able to meet a Shotcrete subcontractor who was very generous and came and spent a couple hours at my office. I sent him a message on Facebook and said, hey man, I'm looking at building pools. I have a lot of clients say, hey, do you build pools? And I'm tired of saying no. And plus I want something new and challenging. So I sent him a message and he said, where's your office? I'll be there tomorrow. And he came and he basically taught me all the ropes. He gave me the start to finish of how to build a pool. He answered all my questions. He gave me all the insight. He even shared his little network of subcontractors. Step 1 is to dig, plumb, and steel. After permitting, here's your guy for that. If he doesn't work, here's another guy. And he gave me just all the information. So I took that and ran with it. And we built 2 last year. I took it slow because I didn't want to, again, healthy growth, right?
Well, and I also
It-
think it could be risky if anything goes wrong. If yeah,
Absolutely,
expensive.
absolutely. But I'm very grateful because the guy I met, he's one of the biggest players in that game, and he has a
Fantastic.
very good reputation, commercial pools and residential alike. And so I was very blessed that he was the one that answered the call, and it's
Yeah.
been a great relationship since. But anyway, healthy growth, right? So I only did 2 pools last year. Full disclosure, I didn't make any money on either of them. And they were high tickets, 250K a piece. Now, it wasn't just the pool, it was all the landscape. And that's something that separates us is a lot of pool companies will dig your pool and build your pool, and then they leave you with a bunch of dirt. Um,
Hmm.
there's a handful of companies that will do the whole thing, but it seems that for the most part, you're either a pool company or a landscape company. Well, my idea, well, I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, I guess I do see the pros and cons of it, but I'm going to be the guy that does the whole thing. The
Yeah.
benefit to that is you're probably starting at $100,000 per job on the low side, right? So gross
Hmm.
revenue wise, it's high ticket. The trick is how do I turn that into profit, right? I don't need $100,000 job that costs me 105.
Yeah.
My first 2 pools, one was about 205,000, the other was 230,000, and I didn't make a dime on either of them. I didn't lose very much, but it was how I learned.
Yeah.
So um, we made some mistakes. I learned the hard way, but I fine tuned everything, and this is the year that we're going to run with it. So I was able to hire a guy who started a couple weeks ago, and he is a very polished and experienced, not only designer but project manager. And he's been
Okay.
doing it for a long time. So he was able to join our team. That was a blessing. I interviewed a lot of people that were probably underqualified or not even close to qualified. And then my last interview, this guy was recommended by him. He's like, I'm not really interested in this position because I kind of like what I'm doing, but I got a guy for you. He sent me a bunch of
Really? Word of
college.
mouth.
Yeah, he came in and I interviewed him 2 times, and he started last week. And his goal, we do beginning of every year we have meetings and we set everybody's goals and we write them on the whiteboard and do all that. His goal for this year was to sell and complete 20 pools. So
Wow.
that's a lofty goal. Now it's not for him, but for my company it is. But I have all the pieces in place, and he was the kind of the final piece,
Hmm.
the head of the dragon, right? I had the whole body filled out. I had all the subs. I had all this, that, and third, but I needed somebody that knew what they were doing, that could sell it with confidence to my clients. So that piece, has joined our team, and again, his goal for the year is 20. He seems to think that that's a pretty easy goal. I would be very happy, if he could do that. But that's the next evolution, the next step of our design side.
That's
Addition,
exciting.
yeah. Additionally, we're doing a lot of commercial construction. So the apartment communities that we've been able to make really good relationships with, they all have big projects. Or for instance, there's apartment communities going up on every corner. It almost seems like the price of housing has gone through the roof. So the apartment side is kind of subsidizing that need for housing. So there's new construction everywhere. We've done such a good job. These guys have done such a good job on the maintenance that the word has spread. Exactly. Yeah, kudos to them, right? Word has spread that hey, they can do all the initial installs for these new apartments. So you're talking 3, 4, $500,000 tickets to go put in all the sidewalks, all the irrigation, all the plants, the mulch on a new construction side. So that's very exciting. Stephen couldn't be here. He's actually out on a job site, but he is our director of construction. And that's his niche, I guess you could say, his department.
Hmm.
He's got an extensive construction background, so when it comes to retaining walls and engineered walls and all that technical stuff, that's what he does. So those are the 2 new additions for
I was
2020.
going to say, and that's new to the business because it was
Yeah,
commercial maintenance and then
yeah.
residential
Okay.
design and build. Wow, that's yeah, that's a lot of new stuff. But you said
Yeah.
you're going slow.
Well, yeah,
No,
healthy. I said healthy,
healthy.
and
Okay, good.
healthy it doesn't necessarily mean slow. It means to have all your personnel and your
Yes,
systems and your processes put in
totally
place
agree.
before you go. So, again, I learned that the hard way, but I think we got it down pat now. And, we were fortunate in 2020 to be top 25 in Atlanta as rated by
Bravo.
the Atlanta Business Chronicle. And then the following year, 2021, I believe, it may have started in 2021, but the following year we were 23. And then they reduced the list to the top 20. So I was kind of panicking. I'm like, oh no, I went from 25 to 23. And now they were reduced the list to top 20, and I'm gonna miss it by one or something. But we stayed it in at 19.
Woo!
So I don't know what will be for this past year. I would assume 19 or 18 or 17. So we're moving in the right direction. We're definitely kind of, what I call a top player in the Atlanta market.
Yes,
And now
definitely.
now that we've added the commercial construction, because before that we did a lot of enhancement work, 30, 40, $50,000 tickets.
Mhm.
Now we're adding these 3, 4, 500. I mean, Steven's working on a $4 million ticket. Whether we
That's
get that or not, I'm
amazing.
going to say a prayer. But you see, kind of our direction. And
Yeah.
again, it's not me, it's the team. So can't
Well,
say enough good things about them.
well, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you at Sync Live too,
Yeah, I got
huh?
them all tickets. I got them all
Oh,
tickets. So we'll all be there, and it is mandatory. So we look forward to seeing you in person too.
well, I'm looking forward to it. And this has been a fun chat. Nice to meet all of you.
Nice
And
to meet you.
I'm
Thank
going to see you in person. And
you.
we'll be, there's a Top Golf night too. So see you there too. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. We're competitive now. We're
Oh,
competitive.
I
So
better start practicing. Yeah.
That's right.
yeah. So thank you for having us. We greatly appreciate it. And I guess we will see you soon.
It's so nice to meet all of you. Stuart, Jeremy, Lucas, and Mason.
Right. Thank you so much.
Love having you on, and I'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day. Bye.